The bass thumped through the club floor, lights flickering in sharp pulses of neon. Jungkook's hand rested at the small of your back as you walked in together, a silent but protective gesture. Even in a room full of strangers, he had that commanding presence, the kind that made people instinctively step aside. He guided you in. His touch was firm, protective, a silent way of saying, "I'm here, no one touches you." He looked the same as he always did, tailor suit jacket, silver watch, catching the light, expressions unreadable. People noticed, they always did. The whispered glances from strangers weren't just because he was gorgeous, it was the aura, the untouchable confidence of a man who controlled rooms without trying. You knew the truth. Underneath all that was the man who rubbed your shoulders when you were stressed, who quietly remembered every little thing you liked, who curled up with you on the couch with a blanket and your favorite drama. But here he was the CEO, John Jungkook. Everyone else knew, cold, precise, almost intimidating. You kissed his cheeks softly. "I'll be with the girls." He nodded, eyes lingering on you for just a heartbeat longer than necessary before heading to the bar. He ordered his drink without a glance at the menu, settling in with that casual elegance that made it look like he belonged everywhere and nowhere at the same time. You slid into the booth where your friends were gathered, instantly pulled into a bubble of chatter, laughing and clinking glasses. Finally, Mina grabbed your hand dramatically. "We thought your Ice King was keeping you locked away again." You laughed, shaking your head. "Not tonight. He's here, actually." Where? Sora's eyes darted around before she spotted him. "Oh, yep, there he is. Tall, gorgeous, terrifying. Wow." The others turned to look, giggling and whispering. "Seriously," Mina said over the music, leaning closer. "How do you live with that? I swear my boyfriend gets tipsy off one beer and starts acting like a lovesick puppy. Yours, he doesn't really lose control," you admitted, sipping your drink. "He's calm all the time." Sora raised a brow. "Calm? Try frozen solid. Does anything faze him?" You smiled, glancing over at Jungkook, who was standing by the bar, sipping his drink without a hint of distraction. "He just has really good self-control." "Good self-control?" Mina laughed loudly, more like unshakable. "Come on, Ryan. There has to be something that gets him worked up." "Yeah," Sora chimed in, teasing. "Or are you secretly married to a robot?" The girls erupted into laughter before Mina suddenly stilled, her lips curving into something far more dangerous. She reached into her clutch and, with a little flourish, pulled out a small and silver packet. She slid it toward you under the table. One tiny, unmistakable blue pill sat inside. "Mina," you began, already shaking your head. "It's harmless," she said quickly, eyes dancing. "Just a little experiment. Slip it into his drink. See if Mr. CEO can handle it. I bet he'll crack it under 30 minutes." Sora leaned in, grinning. "If you actually manage to get him worked up in public, drinks are on us for the next month." You stare at the pill, biting your lip. "This is ridiculous." "Ridiculous?" Mina agreed with a grin. "But come on, don't you wanna see what happens when you poke the Ice King?" Your gaze drifted back to Jungkook. He stood there at the bar, tall, composed, sipping his whiskey like nothing in the world could touch him. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to see what would happen if something did. You rolled the little blue pill between your fingers under the table, your friend's laughter still ringing in your ears. "It's just a harmless dare," you told yourself, even as your heart picked up. Jungkook was still at the bar, speaking to the bartender, his attention elsewhere. "Now or never," you excused yourself from the booth, weaving through the crowd with practiced ease. The glass of amber liquid sat in front of him, condensation beading along the sides. He didn't notice you slip in beside him, smiling sweetly as your hand brushed his arms. "Hi, baby," you murmured. His gaze softened just slightly. "Having fun?" You hummed, leaning on the counter, while his attention flicked toward a server bringing another tray of drinks. Your fingers moved quick, discreet, and the pill dropped into his whiskey, dissolving instantly without a trace. You went back from there towards your friends. You took a sip from your own glass, keeping your expression innocent. He downed the rest of his drink without suspicion, setting the empty glass down with a quiet clink. You were starting to think Mina's little dare had been pointless. Maybe the Ice King was really the immune to everything. And then you noticed it, a subtle shift. His fingers tightened around the edge of the bar. His eyes weren't on his phone anymore. They were locked on you from across the room, the kind of stare that didn't just see you. It pinned you in place. You excused yourself from the booth, walking towards him. He didn't move until you were close enough for the scent of his cologne to mix with the whiskey on his breath. "Hey," you began, but he cut you off. "Let's go home." His voice was low, taut, like a bowstring pulled tight. You frowned lightly. "We just got here." The girls, his gaze darkened, his jaw flexing once. "Now." Something in his tone made your stomach flip. He wasn't angry exactly, but there was an edge in his eyes you hadn't seen in a long time. His other hand reached up to rub the back of his neck, a subtle tell you knew too well. Jungkook never looked uncomfortable, but right now there was a faint flush climbing up his throat, and his breath seemed just a little heavier. You didn't know if it was the heat of the club or something else, but his palm was warm when it closed around your hand. Too warm. His grip was firm, leading you out through the crowd without another word. By the time you hit the cool night air, you noticed the way his shirt clung to his skin at the collarbone, the slight tension in his shoulders. He was walking fast, almost impatiently, like every second between here and home was a second too long. You had no idea yet that the pill had hit him hard. You just knew that your cold, composed husband suddenly seemed dangerous. The elevator ride up to the penthouse was silent. Junko stood beside you, one hand shoved in his pocket, the other holding the strap of his jacket. It swung over his shoulder. His gaze was fixed forward, but you could feel the weight of it even when he wasn't looking directly at you. When the door slid open, he guided you inside with a firm hand at your back. The moment the door clicked shut, he locked it with a sharp twist of the deadbolt. Then he turned to you. Before you could take a step, his body was pressing you back against the wall, not hard enough to hurt, but enough to trap you completely. His palm rested flat beside your head, his other hand curling around your jaw, tilting your face up to meet his. His eyes were dark, sharp, and far too calm. "What?" His voice was deep, deliberate. "Did you put in my drink tonight?" Your breath caught. You tried to look away, but his finger tightened just slightly, holding your chin in place. I don't, Ryan." His tone was low but dangerous, the kind that made lying impossible. You hesitated, heart hammering. "It was a dare. My friends, they dared me to put in your drink to see if you'd melt." For a moment he just stared at you, the faintest smear casting at the corner of his mouth. "Melt," he repeated slowly, almost amused. "That's what they wanted to see. You swallow." "It was stupid." "Oh, it was," he agreed, leaning in close enough for his breath to brush your ear. "But here's the thing, sweetheart. You wanted to see too." Your pulse spiked, his hand down your side, slow, deliberate, making your even more. Then he pulled back just enough to look at you fully, his eyes glinting. "Now," he murmured, "I'll give you a dare." You blinked. "What?" His hand left your chin only so he could shrug out of his jacket, tossing it carelessly onto the couch. He didn't take his eyes off you for a second. "Stay right here," he ordered. You didn't dare move as he stepped, his presence overwhelming in the dim penthouse light. He pressed one hand the wall beside your head, the other gusting down arm, not quite, just close enough for the to prickle your. "You wanted to test me," he murmured, his voice smooth but laced with an edge that made your stomach flip. "Now you're going to learn what happens when you gamble with me." hands, he said suddenly. You hesitated. What about? Behind your back. You obeyed, lashing your fingers together, the position instantly making you feel smaller, more exposed. He stepped back just enough to look at you from head to toe, his jaw tightening slightly as his eyes darkened. Perfect, he said quietly. Remember the rules, he whispered. No touching me, not once. You could feel the pill in his system working through him, the faint tension in his muscles, the restless energy in his movements, but he never let it control. He was control, and you were the one unraveling. He pulled back just enough to meet your eyes. He smirked dangerous. I told you, baby, you don't melt me. I melt you. And then he made good on his promise, slow at first, then relentless, making sure every second into you until you understood exactly what kind of man you dared to. By the time he finally stepped back, you felt unsteady, your breath. He stood there for a moment, watching you, his chest rising and falling with controlled breaths, that dangerous speak slowly softening. And he said again, but this time it wasn't a command to keep them away. You did good, he murmured, voice lower now, gentler, even if you are trouble. You let out a shaky laugh against him. It was stupid. Yeah, he agreed softly, pulling back just enough to look at you, but I know why you did it. His thumb traced your cheek, his gaze warm now instead of sharp. You wanted to see if you could break me. Your lips curved faintly, and I couldn't. His smile returned, but this time it was laced with affection. Not even close, sweetheart. And as you drifted off, you couldn't help but think that maybe you didn't need to break him because when he wanted to, Jungkook could break you just fine. You think it's over? His voice was low, dangerous, the kind that curled through your veins. Your lips parted, the faintest shake of your head, all you could manage. Hands where I can see them, he said, that earlier smirk making a dangerous return, and this time you don't get to sleep until I'm done with you.